Welcome to the I Get It Show, a creatively fun discussion focused on the pursuit of meaningful daily life. With a wide variety of topics, insights through celebrations, influencer interviews, and everyday life journey interactions. Inspiring you to pursue passionate happiness and discovering the simple aha moments in life that serve to power the journey of purpose. And now your hosts for the I Get It Show, Jeff Armour and Lindsay Lott.
Welcome to the I Get It Show. I'm Lindsay Lott, and as always, is with me my co-host, the one and only Jeff Armour.
What is up, Lindsay?
How are you?
So I think it's a good thing that the world only has one of me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think that'd
be a little much.
Right, wouldn't it? You don't want to double up on me, I don't think.
No, I agree.
Right. Well, welcome in.
Yeah, excited to be here. And of course, we will be joined by B Wise a little bit later in the show, get his insight and perspective on our discussion.
Yeah.
So today's topic is a big one.
It?
I feel like it's big.
I can't
and I
wait
feel like
to
it's
find out what it is. Tell me more.
You're not prepared? Come on, man.
I come in here ready to just talk about anything at any time with anyone.
All right. Well, this one is one that I think philosophers have even been inquiring about since ancient times, and it's all about happiness.
Philosophers?
Yeah. It's a big thing.
Well, then it's a good thing you're coming to me on this.
Right.
Of all the philosophers, I'm definitely one of them. But you say it's happiness?
It's happiness, and whether or not that's the ultimate pursuit of life.
Really?
Really?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
You're not sure? So when I was thinking about this topic, the first thing I did was I actually looked up the definition of happiness in the dictionary, right? What is happiness?
How many definitions are there?
Well, it was pretty simple, actually. It said it's an emotional state of well-being, contentment, and satisfaction.
Huh. So, well, that's, I'm not sure. Is that all happiness? Is that true?
Well, overall satisfaction, right? Lack of negative emotional state, I suppose.
So feeling satisfied.
Feeling satisfied.
That brings happiness.
I guess so, right?
Interesting. All right.
According to the dictionary.
All right. Was it Webster or was it one of those knockoff dictionaries?
It was Webster.
It was a Webster.
Of course. Incredible source.
Yeah. Was his name Charles or William or Bill? Was it Sam Webster? I'm not really sure.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, text us at the show. Let us know which Webster we're talking about. Was it the Webster from the 80s show?
The 80s show?
Remember there was an 80s show with Webster? It was something. We'll check with Brian on the...
okay, yeah. We'll have to set us
anyway,
straight on
back
that
to
one.
You. Yeah.
So that's the definition. That's the overall feeling of what happiness is. First thought that came to my mind was emotional states, right? We're humans. All of us have varying emotional states throughout the day. It changes, some more than others, right?
Right.
We can't just...
I feel bad that you looked directly at me when you said that. That's kind of rude.
I just meaning that it's just not reasonable to expect to ever be in one emotional state.
Okay.
In a day,
yeah.
in your lifetime, whatever it is, right?
That's refreshing. Yeah. It's good to know.
Right.
I feel like I've had a breakthrough today.
Pressure's off, right?
Right. When it comes to emotional states.
Right.
Yeah. Mine get united on occasion, by the way.
That's exciting.
Yeah, back to you.
Yeah. That's a lot of fun. Anyway, so if that's the case, if our emotional states are not ever going to be consistent or reliable, in my mind, it doesn't make sense to pursue something that's going to be fleeting, that can't be maintained. So if happiness is something that can't be maintained for an extended period of time or be a reliable place that you can be in emotionally, why would I want to set my focus on pursuing that?
Yeah, so I think when you say pursuit, right, first of all, so we're currently broadcasting from the United States of America. And so there's, I believe it's a preamble that mentions that at the end, we have this right to, for the pursuit of happiness, right? And so if we're at the pursuit of happiness and you're saying that happiness should not be pursued, now what? What do we pursue then, right? So when it comes, I think for me, when it comes to happiness, happiness is an interesting emotion because sometimes you think you try to achieve something you think will make you happy. And even for a moment it might be, then afterwards you're like, well, that doesn't really make me happy at all. That was just a really bad choice.
Right.
Right. So if we're just focused on happiness all the time, how do we reconcile that? Interesting.
Yeah, well, I thought that. I thought that same thing because we do want happiness in our lives, but if we're seeking, and a lot of times we do that, there's something external that we think will make us happy. This job, this relationship, this amount of money in the bank account, whatever it is. And as soon as we achieve that goal, we might have a little bit of happiness, but then we're already focusing on the next thing or wanting the next thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's dangerous. And there's a fallacy in attaching our happiness to anything external, because there's so much that's out of our control in our external world, and it's always changing and disappointing us. So
I wonder about happiness, because so let me. It's weird because I have this great analogy in my mind, but I don't know how it's going to come out. So
okay, great.
Thanksgiving, right? Thanksgiving. So there's all this massive amount of work at Thanksgiving to, like, you go shopping, you have to get things ready. If you're hosting and you're going to do all of these things to have people over to your house, you prepare this big meal, right? And it takes you hours, sometimes days, right, to put it all together. And then when it's a matter of about 20 minutes, you're like, why did I go through all of that? Now it's just a big, huge mess I got to clean up, right? And sometimes I think that's maybe what happens when I'm looking for happiness in something. It's like you pursue this, then you get it, and you're like, it wasn't nearly what I thought it was.
It wasn't
be.
what you had built up in your mind, right?
Right.
That would actually feel like once you
I'm not
achieved
going to
it.
name any names, but certain people in your life too out there might feel that way. I would really like to go out with this person or really know this person. And then you get to know them. You're like, man, that didn't nearly go the way I thought it was going to go.
Sometimes it's just better in your head.
Right.
Just go on the date in your mind or whatever.
Right. Yeah. So I noticed is that something you do a lot, Lindsay? Date in your mind?
It's easier.
Interesting.
It's a little bit more fulfilling.
Right. You don't have to get ready.
Right.
Yeah. You don't have to do your hair.
Exactly.
No toothbrush involved. I like it. I like your thinking. All right.
So if it's not something we pursue, if it's not something outside of us, we still want to be happy. We still want to have like that satisfaction. So my next thought when I was thinking about it was cultivate it, right? Like don't be disempowered and disappointed thinking that everything external is just not going to bring us the happiness that we think it will. But I think we can cultivate it within our own lives and find ways to bring that happiness into our lives in the present moment, rather than waiting for X, Y, or Z to happen.
So when you say cultivate, it brings a lot of things to mind. So when I was a kid, for a period of time, I grew up in a farming community in Ohio, which also consequently means good morning in Japanese.
Oh, nice. Ohio.
Right. Exactly right. Yeah. Strange, but true. And so I bet you didn't know that
No.
Ohio means good morning.
No.
So good morning, America, Ohio.
Nice.
So but they have a different state motto.
Okay. I don't know what it is.
I don't either. Yeah.
Oh.
But it isn't good morning.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, in my thoughts with you saying cultivating, it's like I remember growing up at this place where, they would till the ground
Right.
and there'd be planting seeds, all the things, right, you do as you imagine farming would be. And then to actually fulfill it by getting the crop took an incredible amount of time, right? A massive amount of time to just get that finished product, right? And so for me, I don't know that is happiness the thing we're cultivating, or is happiness an emotional response to what we cultivate?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I like that a lot, actually, because I think
That's good.
Good job.
I thank you very much. I just needed attaboy on occasion would be
Attaboy.
amazing. Thank you very
Attaboy.
much. Yeah, that's it.
yeah, I agree with that. Like, because cultivate does indicate work, putting work and effort into that. And there's different things for each of us that would bring about that happiness, right? Like whatever it is that brings you happiness is different to what brings me happiness as far as what we work on and cultivating. But I agree with you. Maybe happiness isn't actually the end goal, but it's kind of just a byproduct of what we're doing in our lives, bringing into our lives, the relationships that add value to our lives, or satisfaction, or the hobbies, or the practice of gratitude.
Hearing you talk it through, I'm thinking about like fear is not a thing, right? Fear is an emotional response. I'm wondering if happy is the same thing. Like it's not really a thing. It's just our response to a thing, right? So if we're mad, our anger is at a thing. So if we're happy, it's the same thing. So the pursuit in my life should be for some sort of fulfillment, or some sort, like you said, satisfaction, right? And that satisfaction then brings an emotional response, which we would describe as happy.
Right.
Is that where you're going?
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I think because it's like hard to define happy, and it's different for everybody else, right? And so
Right.
it's maybe just about finding what brings that response, that as a byproduct, instead of being the actual focus of what we're
That's
pursuing.
amazing. So if I was to ask Lindsay, hey Lindsay,
Hey.
are you happy?
Yes.
Right. So in this moment, right, obviously, because you're in
I'm
this
with you,
whole
yeah,
thing, right? It
right.
makes sense, right?
Totally.
Yeah. I find that a little bit of Jeff makes everybody happy.
Agree. Yeah.
So, right. And so when people ask if we're happy, it really is conditional, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we could be happy in that very moment, and the next moment, things could flip. And so if we're
Is it
always
conditional or is it a choice? Can we
I don't know,
always
right?
choose?
I don't know. What do you guys think out there? It's crazy, right? You know who I bet has an opinion on this.
But we should see what B-Wise has to say about it.
Right. I can't wait to hear this.
Well, again, wise.
BY says we're wise to come to him.
That's right. You're wise to come to me. So I think you both have brought up some excellent points. And so I want to focus on a couple of those. Lindsay, you talked about it being an emotional state and a journey, if you will. And so a lot of people will measure their happiness by, is it the journey towards happiness, or is it actually the destination? Once you've arrived, have you fulfilled that happiness? And so I think that's kind of an important thing. Some people might say the journey is the most important thing. Other people might say, the destination is the most important thing. And Jeffrey, and I agree, a little bit of Jeffrey is good, a little bit. So I think that's important.
A little bit of Jeff goes a long, long way.
No idea, but you said text us. You asked the folks to text us. So maybe when we circle back to you, you can explain that just a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely will.
But you talked about the pursuit of happiness, and I want to just point out that our founders of the country wrote a Declaration of Independence, and this is what they said was the importance. It says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." So I would just say that we want to remember that the pursuit of happiness in the Declaration is not just a quest or a pastime, but an unalienable right. There we go. Everyone has the right to be happy, not just try to be happy. And so if we use a metaphor on that, you don't just get the opportunity to make the team, but you have a guaranteed spot on the team. And that's what the founders meant by the pursuit of happiness.
What's your opinion of Mr. Critic here of our first session?
Well, I really liked what he started with as far as pointing out.
I liked how it started as well, except for the part where he called me out.
I just have something to say to that, and then maybe you can speak on the rest. But the journey versus the destination, right? I think that's a big thing. Like just kind of what we were talking about. We think once we're at this point or this destination, then we'll be happy. But I think it's important and essential that we find happiness in the journey along the way.
Yeah, so I think when I was listening to him, first of all, my favorite part of that particular segment was when he couldn't necessarily say inalienable,
Right.
but at the same time found ways in which to criticize me. So thank you, Be Wise, for always being
Very creative.
there for me. It's awesome. But anyway, I'm sure we'll hear about that in a minute. But I just look at happiness as, I guess, from a right to be happy. I don't know. I think that we have the right to pursue it, but I don't know that we have the right to be happy based on, I think, where I'm falling on your side of things, which is it's a choice, right? What we respond to, how we engage with our everyday experiences, we have a decision to make with whatever cards are dealt us in that day. And there are times when I've had days that I thought were going to turn out really, really awesome, and then something just nasty happened. I didn't see it coming, right? And that didn't necessarily make me happy. And so when it comes to that fulfillment, I don't know. I'm kind of struggling with how do you achieve happiness, or do I need to achieve something else that its emotional response is happy?
Right.
What do you think?
Well, I like that. And I think that I personally think that we all have a purpose here on earth, like a mission, a meaning that we're supposed to accomplish. And that I think a part of that, a big responsibility of that is to help others, love others. And it's our responsibility to find out what that is, what our meaning is, what our purpose is. And I feel like once we do and step into that and live that authentically, that happiness, like I said, will just naturally be.
So it
part
sounds
of
like
our
to me
lives.
you're saying that the happy response is when you feel fulfilled. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
I will go back to the word byproduct. I think it's difficult to focus on happiness being the goal, right? But it is our responsibility to cultivate it, choose what it is that will bring that happiness to our lives, and choose what it is that we can do to serve and love others that will also bring that happiness to our lives.
Yeah. So I remember. So there's a Sheryl Crow song
Okay.
which says.
Sing it.
It's so right. That's a different podcast
Okay.
for a different day. But I believe the words are, if it makes you happy, it can't be that bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I always hear that song and I think to myself, boy, there are some things that I thought made me happy that turned out really bad.
Right. Right.
So when I got that happen to me, then I look at it and go, well, was that really happiness?
Mm-hmm.
Or what was the real thing that led to that?
Mm-hmm.
Was it the concept in my head? And if it was a concept in my head, couldn't I continue the euphoria of happiness
Mm-hmm.
despite what the circumstances
Mm-hmm.
are? Right? So what do you think about if it makes you happy, then go for it.
I think that we still have a responsibility to
Yeah.
not hurt other people or ourselves in the long run, right? Like there's things that we can do impulsively that bring us pleasure for a short period of time. But over the long term, over a lifetime, it might not be such a great choice.
So you would prefer to be, I'm making up this phrase now, a happiness stacker.
Sure.
All right. So stacking happiness on top of happiness.
Right. Instead of just like the little moments here and there that are fun.
So I think that's where Be Wise was saying, right? Are you about the destination, which is I feel happy, or are you about the journey of, I've got this that leads me to that, which builds upon so that in my life I become a happier person overall because I'm building happy moments along the way. Is that who Lindsay is? Let's build some happiness.
Well, I do. I think it is a journey. I think even having happiness is a journey in and of itself. Just like we started to say at the beginning of the show, you can't be in one emotional state forever.
Yeah.
So you have to be consciously aware of what it is in your life with relationships or hobbies or activities or practicing gratitude or whatever it is, and make sure that you're implementing those as they will cultivate that happiness. And I will go back to, I do think a big part of it is helping others, serving others. I think that is our responsibility we have. And I think a natural emotion we feel from doing so is happiness.
Yeah. So as I'm working this out, right, because of course I didn't know what you were going to talk about when I walked in
Right.
today. Who knows what's going to come out of you?
You never know.
But I think this would be an awesome topic to continue on our social media channels, to be able to have you chime in that's listening today and say, hey, what makes you happy? Are you pursuing something that's an emotional response, or what's your opinion? Because we're all wanting to grow in this together, right? And so for you are a happiness stacker,
Okay.
and others might be, right, I'm journeying, and then I have a happy moment, and then
Sure.
I leave that moment behind and move on to
Search
something
for the
else,
next
right?
one.
So I remember another song, because all of us have been in these situations where we meet somebody or we meet something and we think that's it, right? Garth Brooks, you familiar with Garth Brooks?
Yes.
He's a small-time artist. He wrote a song called Unanswered Prayers, right?
Yeah.
And he gives this whole thing about how they went to this football game with his wife and they met his old high school,
You gotta
blah,
sing
blah,
it.
blah, right? And then they walked away and that was a time to thank God that he didn't answer. My opinion is God answered it. He just said, she's not for you. Let's move along. But, those are things in our lives that maybe things that don't happen that we want to happen are really happy moments in and of themselves, right? So I wonder, do you think that Be Wise might have a better attitude if we went to him now?
I would be very interested to find
Scout.
out.
Brian, what do you think?
Hold on as the moderator to correct the record. So Jeff had called me out on not being able to pronounce unalienable.
Yeah,
And he pronounced inalienable.
that's correct.
Not correct. Unalienable.
No, that's what
is
I
the
said.
word. That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can go back. Luckily, we're on camera here, so we can throw the flag and do a replay if we need to.
Right.
So,
Well, we can always go to
excellent.
the
So
master controls. Sean is at the master controls, and he can actually clear this up for us. So
I'll
we don't.
fix it.
Thank you. There he is. John.
Yeah.
All right. So as we wrap up here, I think that there's a couple of important things that I'd like to share, and that is y'all, Lindsay and Jeff, both of you touched on, I think, what the true definition of happiness is. And I think we can break it down into happiness is actually 7 things:
Ooh.
joy, excitement, gratitude, pride, optimism, contentment, and my favorite, love. And I think those are all the things that you guys have wrapped up in a nice big bow for everybody. And I'll leave it with this. Happiness is a gift, and it comes upon us unexpectedly. And so with that, happy holidays to everyone.
Happiness is a gift. Well, it's January, so are you saying
Well-
happy holidays like the rest of the
He's
year? I'm
looking
confused.
forward.
Yeah, I see. Happy
11
holidays,
months.
which would be Valentine's Day and
That's right.
That's
We
right.
have a whole
St.
we
Patrick's
have a whole
Day.
year.
What is he doing?
Whole
Yeah.
year to
Whole
be
year of happiness
Happiness.
in your
Yeah,
holidays.
that's
right.
I get it now. I get it. So say that last line again.
It's a gift. Happiness is a gift, and it comes upon us unexpectedly.
Happiness
We
is a
don't we
gift.
seek it,
Uh-huh.
but then suddenly happiness can be thrust upon us
Suddenly,
unexpectedly.
that's another Billy Ocean song. Well done.
I
All
like
right.
that. I
Yeah,
like that
awesome.
a lot. Instead of focusing right on the happiness, it's a gift, and it's a gift that we receive when we're cultivating
Yeah.
those things in our
Yeah.
lives. Yeah.
Well, Be Wise, thank you for
Thank you.
following up with something that we really can use today. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Un and in. It's important that you get those correct. So.
Right. I'll work on that. All right. So
Yeah.
here's the next thing for me is that as we wrap up today, for me, I think that happiness is really, I'm on Lindsay's side of this, mysteriously, in that it is a pursuit, but it's a byproduct of the choices that we make each day. That in our lives, there are so many things that we can find joy and fulfillment in when we stop comparing, I think, ourselves to others or to other things that we don't have and start really appreciating what has been instilled in us already. And for me, it's about finding your ultimate purpose. And hopefully in later shows, we'll be able to talk about purpose and what that looks like. But I think when I'm pursuing my ultimate purpose in life, I think that brings contentment and satisfaction that allows me then to have those emotional feelings of happiness. Times when I'm tired, I can still feel fulfilled, which would bring me moments of happiness. And so I move from happiness to happiness in those moments as a way of trying to better my life and better the lives around me. What do you think?
I think that was very well said, and I agree with that entirely. I think it's our responsibility to cultivate our happiness, and I think that the ultimate happiness is found in finding our purpose and meaning in life. So thank you.
Sweet, yeah.
Thank you, Brian. We want to continue this discussion with you, so please join us on our social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find us at the I Get It Show. We definitely appreciate your perspective and engagement. I would be very interested to hear what all of our listeners have to say about this. And on our next show, we have another fun and exciting topic that's all about how people suck.
How people suck. People, am I right? Right.
People.
The world's a much nicer place if it wasn't for all the people.
But somehow we still need them.
Right.
So,
right.
well-
I don't know if you know this or not, Lindsay, but you happen to be a people.
I suck. I
Right.
know. I understand.
Well, those are all things we're learning today.
Yes.
All right. I think when I have interacted with you on many occasions now, Lindsay, I haven't known each other a long time, but we have known each other for a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I think that you are such a gift.
Oh my goodness.
You are an amazing resource for people, and I'm excited to journey with you on this and all of us grow better together. So Thank you for all that you do. You've been amazing.
Well, thank you. You're a very big blessing in my life as well.
Aw,
and thank
it's a
you to
love
Be
fest.
Wise. Yes, we love you too, Be Wise.
Yeah.
So, in closing, we're very grateful for your efforts in spreading the word about our show. So let's get together and make the world a little bit better around us each and every day. Thank you so much.
You were early, but great job. 23 seconds. You had 23 more seconds to go.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G,
jeez.
H, I, J.
Right.
What do you got? We can edit that
Stand
out,
to 15
right?
seconds. No, I think it'd just be fun just to leave it in just for
Okay,
fun.
cool. My bad.
That's okay.
Well, your closing remarks were so
it's just for
great,
fun.
and so
You've been listening to The I Get It Show. Witty and insightful conversations about nothing, discussing how our daily lives are influenced by everything. Feel free to reach out. TheIGetItShow@gmail.com. Like and subscribe on Facebook and YouTube and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, this has been The I Get It Show. This has been a production from a podcast studio.